Hello, welcome. Something slightly different from me today because I've had a few requests for this and I thought why not do a tattoo tour for all of you. I have been asked a few times over the last couple of years to do one of these, but I never really felt like doing it. I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome or whatever, but I just always felt like I wasn't tattooed enough to qualify for one of these tattoo tours. However, I've had a few more recently done and for some reason I feel more tattooed now and I feel ready to give you a tour. I don't really have much else to say, so I'm just gonna go straight into it and we'll go top to bottom, limb by limb. And I'm gonna start with this because that's pretty much where I started getting tattooed. I cannot for the life of me remember the timeline of all of my tattoos or the pain of a lot of them. In general, arms weren't painful, but I've also not had anything done on my arms in probably like a couple years now, but arms generally I'd say the least painful. The first one actually I've ever had done was on my inner sort of bicep, and it is this star constellation, which is the Virgo star sign. I got this done literally just after my 18th birthday, I want to say. I've always been obsessed with these star constellation pieces, and yeah, I got that one done. All of my tattoos, apart from one, have all been done in Norwich in the UK. So I'll tag all the artists below. But this one was done by Faye Alice, and she was an apprentice, I think, at the time. It's definitely not healed that great, but if you go to someone who's just started out, if you go to an apprentice, that is something that you have to expect. It's not going to be perfect. They're still learning. I would like to get this one covered up, mostly because this is like prime real estate here. I can do a nice big piece here instead. I don't really notice it that much because it's hidden away, so I'm not that pressed about it. But yeah, I would like a bigger piece there. With this arm, we're already also starting off with some of the ones that I do want to get covered up or changed. I'm not like devastated by the fact that I don't like them anymore. It's just that when I started out, I went for the small patchwork vibe, and I am big piece now. So I believe the next one I had done was this moon tattoo holding the moon. There's a lot of star themes going on this arm, which was very me at the time. So yeah, I had this one just holding the moon. Also don't love this one as much. Like I said, it's just very Tumblr-esque and doesn't necessarily fit my sort of style anymore, which I'll go into a bit later on as well. This one was done by Stefan. He's a really good friend of my boyfriend's. So a lot of my first initial tattoos I had just done by him. Then I have a sort of leaf here. I want to say this was done by Sam, whose full name I've forgotten. I don't know why I had this done, to be honest. I think this was just a random bit of flash that I picked from his. A bit random, but I don't even really notice it. And then I have this flaming heart up here, which was done by Chive, and she also did this shooting star as well as my cherry, and I think I had all three of them done at the same time. This whole section is one that I eventually want to completely redo. Whether that includes some bits having to be lasered in order to make the cover up easier, I don't know yet. I haven't quite figured it out. I want to fill up the rest of my arms first to then figure out what I can fit there and what's still missing, and that then might also include this piece. So this whole area is my least favorite on my body. With that being said, I don't know if I would cast it as a regret because I literally don't think about it. It's just more from like an artistic and placement point of view. That's what I would do completely different now. But yeah, I'm not like dying walking around with them on my arm. I'm absolutely fine with it. So yeah, then like I mentioned, I have this shooting star up here, which Chive has done, which is probably one of my favorite ones. Is just so gorgeous, and the placement of it is so nice above this tattoo here. It's also healed so beautifully. Pretty much all of mine from Chive have healed really, really nicely. Then we have my three ladies down here. This was also done by Stefan, and this actually has a really funny story. I saw this design, but I saved it without the profile above. So I had this design saved in my inspirations folder for so long without knowing who the original artist was. So I never felt like I could get it tattooed because I didn't just want to rip off someone's art. And then I happened to be at this random house party when I was at uni, and the drawing hung on just like a corkboard on the wall, and the person who drew this lived in that house. So I messaged her and I asked her if I could get it tattooed, and she said yes, of course. So yeah, that's where that is from. This was also one of my first pieces, and I have to say I didn't look after it too well when it healed. I have a bit of a scar here from where I picked the scab, which do not do that. I obviously do not do that anymore. Yeah, that was very silly, but I love them. And I used to, before I had more tattoos, this would always be the one to always be complimented. And I love all the little like stars all around it. It's just so nice. And yeah, even to this day, whenever I see like a 3-lady traditional design, I still love that type of layout so much. But yeah, I already have some. Then at the back of my arm, sort of just above the elbow, I have this eye design, which for the longest time used to be my absolute favorite tattoo. So underrated, I feel like people never comment on it, but I just think it is so gorgeous. This was also done by Sam, who did this leaf. I believe I saw this on one of his flash and he had already done it on someone else, so he drew me up a similar design and I just love it so much. It has no meaning other than I think it's really cool. And I think also at the time I was still studying photography at university, and I mainly did portraiture, and like eyes were always the main sort of focus for me in my photography. So I guess there's a little bit of meaning. It's not why I got the tattoo done, but it just always kind of reminds me of my fascination with eyeballs. Weirdly enough now, I always forget it's there. When I was planning this video and had a look at all of my tattoos, I was like, oh shit, like I completely forgot that I have this there. Also, back of the arm, like above the elbow, is like one of my favorite placements, I think. It's just such a nice area to get a tattoo. Then at the back of my forearm, I have this heart, which also was done by Sam. This very randomly picked it from his flash and I genuinely love it so much. I love his style of tattooing. He unfortunately has moved away from Norwich, so I haven't been back to him in years and years and years. But again, very underrated. People don't really notice it that much. I don't really notice it that much, but I love it. It fills the space here really nicely where I can still, you know, put stuff here and here. But yeah, just a very random cool tattoo. And then these are some of my most recent tattoos, my wrists. These were also done by Chive, and they're just the same symmetrical sort of floral geometric design. I think I had these done 3 or 4 weeks ago. I will go back for a little touch up just because it's fine line and it's also on the wrist, so it's a bit of an awkward placement, and I'll just get a few little areas touched up. I love these so much. I've been thinking about this placement for the longest time, and yeah, just finally messaged Chive because I just love all of her fine line, black line work. I think these were some of the ones that made me finally feel more tattooed, which is ridiculous because they're so tiny and I have my arms like covered almost. But for some reason, because these are kind of like borderline hand tattoos for me, I thought, yeah, this means I'm the real deal now. So then moving on to the other side, we have my mermaid, which this is hands down the most complimented tattoo. People come up to me all the time to ask me where I had this done, and I do absolutely love her. I think this was probably my first like biggest piece. I mean, this one is fairly big, but actually in relation to my others, it's not that big. I love all the tattoo designs that she has. He freehanded those on the day, and she actually has a matching piece that I also have, like this floral bit, which I don't know if he noticed that on the day. I highly doubt he did, so I like the coincidence that me and my mermaid, we have a matching tattoo. This one could definitely do with a little bit of a touch up. I didn't go for a touch up at the time, which I definitely should have done, so I could always in the future just book in for a touch up or a tattoo and a touch up. And this one was done by Aka, who is amazing, and yeah, I love my mermaid. Then, as mentioned before, I have the cherries here, which were done by Chive. This was my first bit of colour that I had done at the time, and this very much set the tone for the rest of my tattoos. The sort of red pop of colour is kind of what I've stuck to with most of my tattoos from then on. I just am obsessed with just having like a little bit of something, a little bit of colour here. Then at the back of my arm, I have these cowboy boots, which I think I had done just after COVID. This was done by Running Gun. Again, one of those that I kind of forget is there because it's at the back of my arm. Part of me feels like this is very much a early 2020 tattoo. Like the cowboy boots tattoo is such a relic of that sort of COVID time. I still wear my cowboy boots 24/7, so I feel like it's a nice little homage to, I don't know, that sort of time in my life, my cowboy boots, because yeah, why not? And I also really like the little flowers that she's kind of added all around the tattoo. Then the last one I have on this arm is my panther. This one was again done by Stefan. This one I actually drew myself. I had a very specific idea of the type of panther shape that I wanted with the hearts in and around it. And yeah, I just had a play around and decided to draw it up myself, which I think it turned out pretty cool. And I do kind of just love the fact that I drew this myself. Again, we have the red details in there as well, which I think blends in really nicely with the cherries up here. And that's all of my arms done. I might stand up to show you my upper body tattoos. So on my left side, I have my ribs tattooed, and it kind of goes down to my stomach here and up sort of into the, I don't even know, chest area, I suppose. I had this one done by Diggler. This one was genuinely so painful, and it was quite a traumatic experience for me, which is all I ever say when people ask me about my rib tattoo experience. I knew that ribs would hurt a lot, and we initially planned in 2 sessions, so he just said I'll try and get as much done as I can, but obviously we can finish off in the second session. This hurt so much and it was so traumatic that I never went back for the second session, which I think says a lot about how awful the pain was. So this leaf here is still not finished. This is supposed to be kind of filled in, but it was actually this area here towards my stomach which was the most painful. Like on here and kind of here hurt more than the actual ribs themselves. Also up here it hurt, but it was nowhere near as bad as my stomach area, which has made me think that I don't think I will ever get my stomach tattooed. I think what has made that experience particularly traumatizing, apart from the fact that it was my ribs, at the same time his style is very thick lines. You constantly going over the same areas again and again. I do, however, absolutely love when the sort of leaves pop through on the top here, or they pop through when I'm kind of just wearing like a crop top. I love this kind of effect. Originally, I wanted it to be on both sides, slightly asymmetrical. That's never going to happen. I mean, I didn't even go back to get this one finished, so I don't think I'll ever do this side. It would have looked incredible if I had the guts to do it. On top of that, I found that tattoos get more and more painful the older you get. So if I was struggling with this when I was like 20, I don't think I would be able to handle it like 5 years later. Then I do also have a sternum tattoo. I just have this snake. This was also done by Stefan. This is not that great. This was also quite early on when I was in my fine line Pinterest Tumblr era, and I think already at the time I was into the red ink, but I kind of chose the wrong sort of tint of it. It's just more like a maroon. That being said, I don't hate it. I quite like when it pops out every now and again. This is one that I could potentially get covered up in more of like an American traditional style. It's just whether I'm brave enough to have these kinds of like thick lines on my sternum, because like I said, my stomach seems to be a very sensitive area. Then the last bit on my upper body is my back tattoo. Now this one was done by Sunny Brown. I had a very specific idea what I wanted to get for my back tattoo. First, my boyfriend had his back done and I was very jealous. I wanted to have mine done. I knew that I wanted this kind of tiger jumping through the red heart, some kind of traditional flowers all around it, and yeah, I just sent him my ideas and he drew this one up, which I loved so much. I'll add a screenshot here so I don't have to talk to you with my back. We did this one over 3 sessions. Each of them was about 2 to 3 hours, I'd say. I think he used some kind of numbing spray, numbing cream. I do not know the brand of it for each of those sessions. However, it didn't like completely numb it. I could still feel the pain, but it probably did make the pain a lot less intense, because the first session was weirdly fine. Like it still hurt. All of tattoos hurt, I'm not denying that, but I was genuinely preparing for the absolute worst after my rib tattoo disaster. So I think I already went in with expectations of a lot of pain and also a lot of adrenaline, because I was kind of working myself up. So I think the adrenaline definitely works in your favor, because I find it just blocks some of the pain receptors in your brain. I want to say in the first session we did all the line work. The second session we did the shading. And then the third session we did all the flowers and touching up and colour of the tiger. The third session weirdly was a killer. I thought at that point I knew what I was doing, I was used to the pain, but I think also a lot less adrenaline. I was kind of used to the process, so my body wasn't as prepared for the pain, and probably also just over it at that point. I think I went back for 1 or 2 touch-ups after that as well, but they were just to fill in some of the colour and stuff like that. I got it done because I already wore a lot of backless stuff and it just seemed like the perfect spot, obviously, to get a tattoo. So that's what I did, and I can confirm that I do still wear a lot of backless stuff, maybe even more so than I did before. I think I still have some room like under the back tattoo, so I think I would like to get something here eventually as well. I have no idea what yet, it's only been like a recent thought, but I think it would be nice to kind of use up that whole space eventually. So then we've got my legs. The first couple that I got were these stars and this flower crown above the knee, which again were done by Chive. This I had in mind for the longest time. I wanted like a daisy flower chain over my knee, and then I also just picked some random stars of one of her flash sheets and had those done together, and I love them so much. For the longest time, well, until this year, they were the only leg tattoos that I had done, and I loved them with any kind of outfits, with boots. Just I was obsessed with the kind of minimalistic look of them. However, I did know that eventually I wanted to get some more leg tattoos. So then about a month ago, I had this shin piece done. It's just like a dagger through some hearts. Again, the hearts are a big focus in my tattoos. I thought originally to get it in colour, but then I just went for black and grey instead. I can always get it coloured in later on if I decide to. This one was done by Kim when I was in Germany. So this is the only one that I've not had done in Norwich. And yeah, it's very cool. It definitely got me started on the leg tattoo journey because I immediately booked in this wolf, which will be 2 weeks ago tomorrow that I had that done, so it's still very fresh, it's still healing. This one was also done by Sonny, who did my back piece. Just felt a bit wonky after I had the dagger. Like without this one, I just felt I needed something else up here, and this wolf is just like a box standard American traditional sort of symbol. My boyfriend has a wolf just in black and grey on his arm, and it's always been one of my favourite tattoos that he has, so I thought why not get one for myself. And I am obsessed with the placement, I'm obsessed with the colours. I've recently thought that I would like to integrate a bit more colour. Obviously the red is still a very big theme, but there's a little bit of yellow and sort of brown in there as well. I just feel like overall I can do with some colour, you know? These little ones cannot remember the pain really. This one obviously hurt, but it was nothing unbearable. I think it only really took about an hour and a half to tattoo, so this one was very quick. This one, surprisingly painful. No one prepared me for how painful the thighs are. I for some reason thought that legs would be just as easy as arms, but there just seems to be nothing as easy as arms really. Yeah, legs are weird. They're just the skin, I feel like it's different, and the healing has been really different. This one has been so easy to heal, like the easiest out of all of my tattoos, even my arm tattoos. And then this one has been an absolute pain to heal. It hurt so bad when I had it done. This time around, Sonny didn't use any numbing. I think this is probably the first time that I've experienced Sonny's tattooing without the numbing. And yeah, it was painful. I have to say also the stereotype of male tattoos being a lot more sort of rough-handed has been true for me, to be honest. All of Chive's tattoos have always been very kind and gentle. Again, they all hurt, but in comparison, nowhere near as painful. They are also more fine lines, so that will always make it more bearable rather than like the thick traditional black work lines. So that also comes into play, but in comparison, this one that Kim did was a lot less painful than the wolf. And yeah, men are they just didn't want to show off. I don't know what that's all about. I wish I had more sort of female traditional artists in Norwich that I really like the look of, but unfortunately I don't. So I think I'm gonna keep going back to the men until I get too old and the pain gets too unbearable. But in terms of like future plans for tattoos, I have kind of decided for myself that I'm gonna stick with the more American traditional style. I think it's the most timeless. The risk of regretting any is a lot lower. I think it generally fits my aesthetic, and just the tattoos that I gravitate towards on other people are always American traditional. It will also give me the chance to integrate a little bit more color. I feel like the view of my upper body at the moment when I'm standing is quite black and grey, but obviously I still have some forearm room and I want to just integrate some very slight notions of color. I think I really feel like I've got the tattoo blindness. I still really feel like such an imposter making this video. I feel like I do not qualify to be giving advice or chat about my tattoo experiences, but I feel like I need to be taking this seriously because I spend a good amount of money and a good amount of time on getting these bad boys done. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week with another knitting and crochet related video. But yeah, I'll see you later.